Alrighty. We are officially recording the call. So everyone, thanks again for making the time, effort, and energy to come out today to the first player panel series. We have an absolute rock star cast for everybody today. And as we've talked about previously, right, we're going to focus on a handful of topics, but mainly focusing on a day in the life, what it's like to be a college athlete, and some of the time management skills and things that our star-studded panel today is here to kind of shed a little bit more light on. So one thing I think you guys are all going to recognize as you get the chance to hear these boys talk, and of course, as I get to roll the red carpet out for them, you have the chance to learn not only from individuals that are playing this game at a high level and have done so for quite some time. They all started in the same exact place that you guys did, whether you're a seventh grader from Wanakee or you might be a rising junior from Milwaukee, right? Like all of these guys you're going to have the chance to listen to and learn from were in the same exact shoes as you were. And they are taking the time to come back and help teach you a little bit more about their life as college athletes, some of the things they've had the chance to learn, and hopefully some of the things that they wish they probably knew before they had the chance to step foot onto their respective campuses. So to kick this thing off, I'm going to make them feel a little bit uncomfortable by saying some incredible things about each and every one of them. Boys, after I'm done kind of talking through your spiel, just feel free to unmute yourself, say what's good, and then we'll move on to the next guy. All right. So first things first, we're going to talk about our oldest Unk within the group today, Mr. Nick Fergie. Graduate senior at Bellarmine University, playing LSM in defense for them, the D1 program out in Kentucky, and also a former Marquette University high school alum. So Nick is a multi-year starter for the Knights, four-time ASUN honor roll recipient, former first-team all-conference and first-team all-state defender at Marquette High. I know one of the things that Nick is probably super pumped about is the fact that he's found a way to score at least 3 goals, Nick, or maybe 4, I don't remember, between the two, on the boys from Milwaukee, one of his favorite teams growing up, especially basketball. Nick was also a 3-sport athlete at Marquette High, playing varsity hoops and football, not to mention was also a first-team all-conference and all-region football player for the Hilltoppers. Nick, thanks for coming today.
Hi, guys. My name's Nick Fergie. Obviously, like Billy just said, I'm happy to be here to kind of talk to you guys about the college experience.
Fire up. Thank you, Nick. Next up, next oldest dude we got in the crew, Mr. Luke Ryder. So Luke Ryder, current junior at the University of Vermont, where he's been rotating off between the attack position and the midfield position. Making sure I'm not waiting for anybody else to hop in. Rotating between up top and down low for the University of Vermont for the Catamounts. He is also a Wanakee High School alum. He has spent time at Westminster School after winning a state championship with the Wanakee Warriors, playing lacrosse and hockey. And throughout the course of his time at Vermont, he is a multi-year starter for the Catamounts, 2-time All-East American Honor recipient. And he is also an American East All-Rookie team from 2024 and an All-Conference member for the American East this past year prior to rolling into his junior season. Luke Ryder, thank you for the time today, brother.
Yeah, thanks, Billy. Pumped for tonight.
Going up next, we got Mr. Marcus Thundercloud. Not only has been 2-time first-team All-Name when it comes to the social media channels that our sport offers, but Marcus is a redshirt sophomore, University of Detroit Mercy, another Division I program within the NEC. He is also a University School of Milwaukee alum, or USM for short. Mr. Marcus is an NEC Rookie of the Year last year, second-team All-NEC, 4-time NEC Rookie of the Week, academic honor roll within 2024, former Conference Player of the Year at USM, and was also All-Conference in hockey. Not to mention he just got done playing with the Haudenosaunee national team for 2025 World Championships this past summertime. Marcus, what's up?
Super pumped to get this call on.
And then, of course, our final two boys that are on the call, Mr. Troy Teff, who is a current freshman midfielder at Marquette University and a Middleton High School alum. Troy, 2-time All-State midfielder, 2024 state championship winner, 2023 Offensive Player of the Year for those Middleton boys, two-time team All-Captain. He also holds the record for career and single season catches, yards, and touchdowns at Middleton High School before making his way over to the Dirty Birds. Troy Teff, thank you for the time tonight.
Thanks, Billy. Super excited to share some thoughts with you guys tonight. Thanks all for coming out.
Awesome. And then here we go. Last but certainly not least, we got Mr. Logan Chavez, freshman LSM at Swarthmore College. high academic D3 opportunity for those boys that might be interested in that type of path. He's also an alum of the Kettle Moraine High School, go Lasers. 2025 first team Bob Scott Award winner, All-American, All-State, All-Conference, as well as was a defender for that state runner-up this last year for KM. Logan was also a 3-time varsity starter for KM Milwaukee. Shabby, what's going on?
So thank you for having me. Excited to hopefully share some insight that I wish I kind of would have had through my recruiting process.
Outstanding. So, like I said, guys, we really rolling out the red carpet for you, bringing some of Wisconsin's finest here for this initial call. And that being said, you guys aren't here to hear my voice. You're here to hear theirs. So what we're going to do to kick this thing off is we're just going to spend a little bit of time. We're having our guys discuss a bit more about walking us through what it's like a day in the life as a real-time college athlete. Coming from the great state of Wisconsin. So being able to talk through some things like what their day-to-day calendar looks like, when are they waking up, all the way through when they're going to bed. When is our first lacrosse obligations? How do we fit our class schedule in? Boys, the floor is yours.
I guess I'll kick us off here. Hey, Billy.
Yeah,
Is that good?
absolutely.
So just a bit of a disclaimer, the days for fall and spring are a bit different. So I'll give you a bit two different looks on the days, but in the fall at UVM we're practicing early in the morning, so anywhere from like 6:30 to 7 we're on the field, which I enjoy, honestly, because it kind of sets up the rest of your day. And then you have classes all throughout the rest of the day, no conflicts in the middle of the day, can get your breakfast, lunch, dinner in all with no conflicts, which is really nice. And something I'll talk about in a bit with spring is like that'll be difficult. But yeah, what time waking up around, let's say 5:30, getting to facility around 6, and then classes probably from 10 to 5, something like that. Like you're gonna have your breaks in between. But just like really trying to stay on top of your meals, especially for me, I'm pretty skinny. So just like it's really important, like just getting your meals in. You're gonna be burning a ton of calories, lifting, like shooting, getting your own reps in. Just being a college kid in general, you're gonna be burning calories. So and then what time I'm done for the night, usually around trying to get to bed at 10:30, trying to get 8 hours of sleep a night, just because it's tough, man. Like the fall especially, like you're there every day grinding, and sleep is really the thing that's going to set up your day every day. So that's what a typical day looks like in the fall. In the spring, we practice at noon, so our slots from 12 to 3, so that part of the day is taken up. So right now, like class tomorrow, I have at 8:30, goes till 9:20, and then I'll have a 10:50, ends at 11:40, rushing to class or rushing to the facility. We actually got a run test tomorrow, so pretty excited for that. And then I'll have class at 3:30 to 4:20, and then that'll be the end of my day. But it's tough in the spring, like trying to fit in, like breakfast and dinner are easy, but fitting in ways to get snacks in the middle of the day, give you some fuel throughout the day. And yeah, I think I'll talk a bit more about it later, but I'm a statistics major. So it's also hard because there's no other stat majors on my team. So whereas if I was a business major, I'd have like 30 plus guys that I can have class with throughout the day. But I'm sure I'll talk about more of that later. And yeah, I don't want to take up anyone else's time.
No, all good, Luke. Appreciate you getting the party started. Shabby, what are you thinking?
So I play in D3 lacrosse. I'm gonna have like a little bit more of a relaxed schedule than the rest of the guys here. So like I'll share some insight on the fall schedule. Obviously, as freshmen, haven't gotten into spring yet, but in the fall we would have 3 practices during the week: Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then a Saturday morning practice. So with our practices Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you would wake up at whatever time, like before your classes, make sure you get breakfast, getting all the calories, like Luke was kind of saying, taking advantage of the time that you get to go to the dining hall. And then you get your classes and everything. And our practices during the week would be 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock. You would show up probably still like an hour early, and then you would get there, do like lift, film, and then be on the field actually practicing for about an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on the day. And then afterwards going to dinner, and then going back and just studying, making sure that you get like all of your studying and stuff in as much as you can during the day to kind of alleviate that stress at night after you eat dinner. Kind of just comes down to some time management pieces, which we'll talk a little bit about later. But then on our Saturday mornings, we would have a 7:30 a.m. practice. You would get there 7:30 a.m., do film for probably about half hour, and then be out on the field until usually around like 10 o'clock. And then get done with practice, usually just head to the dining hall with your friends, and then go get in some more calories and everything. But like with the schedule throughout the weeks and everything, we would have that I think we had enough contact days where we would do that from like starting the second week of September, would it be the actual coaches practices, to then Halloween would be our actual coaches practices and everything, where we would have those 4 practices a week. And then after that, we would have our captain's practices pretty much every day during the week, like in the off season, everything, leading up to our finals week. And so with that, honestly, it's kind of like your go a little bit more even sometimes than with actual contact days in the fall. And so with that, you're kind of just like, teaches you a lot about time management and that whole piece of kind of just getting to college and everything. But yeah.
So Logan, quick question. So from a D3 perspective, right? Some people here know, some people don't. The Division I level, you are capped at X amount of hours per week, but you really have the ability to play throughout the vast majority of your semester, right? At the Division III level, it's a bit different, where you're maxed at X amount of contact days. That has just changed recently, but as you could tell, there's a lot of difference between the Division I, Division II, Division III type calendars. So my question for you, Logan, did you feel like that like caliber of practice as for captain's practices were like at a similar standard as the ones that coaches led, or did you feel like they were handled a bit differently?
I would say that they're handled a bit differently because sometimes there was a lot more schedule conflicts with our captain's practices, because then with the captain's practices not being led by the coaches, obviously we weren't able to necessarily like reserve the specific times that we would have been able to reserve with our coaches. That's one thing that kind of like, we have a good amount of fall sports teams at my school and not as much space between different fields that we would like to practice. So I feel like with that, there was a lot more like conflict with like schedules and stuff, where sometimes guys wouldn't be able to go more so to the captain's practices, which then would cause like, I wouldn't say the intensity level would be a little bit different at some of the captain's practices, but I would say that maybe just like due to a sheer number standpoint, you're not able to like do as much sometimes, which would definitely make a difference.
Awesome. Appreciate you shedding a little more light on that for us, brother. So then, of course, the unk of the group, Nick.
Yeah,
tell us a
sure.
little bit more about what it's like to
Here.
be an athlete in grad school.
Yep. So as Billy said, I'm the oldest here. So my schedule's a little bit differently now than it is from the rest of the guys. Sorry about that. Getting a call. But basically, I'm in grad school now. I started this past fall. So with me being in grad school, I only have class at nights from 6 to 9, and they're kind of like bi-weekly. So on the meet, like for example, this whole week I haven't actually been in class once, because grad school is more just projects and whatnot. So I have a lot of flexibility and time management I got to kind of deal with on like a different type. It's like same but different at the same time. Like with projects wise, I have to make sure I'm like staying on top of it, so I'm not cramming the night before. But with my flexibility as a grad student, I've actually picked up a couple jobs from here and there. So kind of like in the fall, I was coaching some fall ball for lacrosse with a couple teams here down in Louisville. I was coaching field, I was coaching box, and now actually this past semester, I picked up a sales role, just kind of working from time to time. Like our practices in the spring are like 3 to 5 and Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then like 11 to 2. Tuesday, Thursday. So like those Monday, Wednesday, Friday, with all my free time, I just picked up like a 5-hour shift on those days. So I think as you do get older and you do learn how to manage your time, you're able to pick up little like side hustles here and there. And that's kind of what I enjoy doing, so I'm not just sitting on my butt at home all day.
So Nick, what are you going to grad school for?
I'm doing my master's of business administration currently.
Awesome. And what did you get your bachelor's in?
It was actually healthcare administration. So I kind of have a similar story to or similar situation as Luke, is that I was the only major of healthcare administration on my team. So kind of like what he said, like a lot of my team's business. So going to class, I had to meet a lot of like kids who weren't on my team to kind of get projects with and whatnot.
Love that. Love that. So fellas, once again, like you're going to be in a position to take advantage of your opportunities from a lacrosse perspective where, for the most part, academically speaking, you're not really going to have to be in a position to sacrifice those goals and aspirations that you have post-grad just to be able to play a game that you love. So appreciate you boys kind of shed a little more light on what that day-to-day looks like. Now, clearly, as we've discussed, fall and spring could be entirely different. And we haven't even gotten around to the chance of talking a bit more about what it's like on travel days for games that are away. So I think this would be a great opportunity for one of those guys that has a lot of conference games that are hours and hours away from each other consistently. So Marcus, you want to tell us a little more about what that experience is like?
Yeah. So, well, first I'll start off by saying those guys all kind of talked about how they manage their time. But I mean, unfortunately, I've had a few moments where I like not really manage my time well. So, I mean, you really got to stay on top of it because things like stretching and taking care of your body can kind of be sacrificed, and you got to kind of stay up until 2 a.m. if you're cramming a project in the last day, which then you're waking up. Like for me during season, I'm waking up at 5:45, get 3 hours of sleep, and then have to go to a 2-hour practice. Just kind of really takes a toll on you. So, I mean, just staying on top, managing your time is probably the most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then for travel days and bus days, you really got to stay on top of it because your teachers don't always know. The coaches will send messages out, or administration. I don't know about you guys, but they'll send stuff out, but the professors don't always remember it. So you got to reach out to them, make sure, especially if you have a test. You're going to have to either take it early or take it on the road. But yeah, you just got to stay communicating with everyone. And then you also got to kind of plan for being able to do homework on the road. Like we had, for instance, this year we had a 12-hour bus ride to Long Island, stayed that night, played them the next day, and then 12-hour bus ride back. So, I mean, it gets rough. And you really don't want to do it. Like, it sucks. I got to be honest. You do not want homework at that point. And especially coming off a loss to them, it was definitely pretty hard to kind of lock in and do it. But then again, you also got to be prepared food-wise and nutritionally on those bus rides. You guys probably know. You guys had a few bus rides, but those snacks and those waters went out pretty fast, so you got to kind of plan for that as well.
Or the good old scavenge for the small 3-inch Jimmy John sub before the box gets to the back of the bus and there's just nothing left for you to pick from, right? We've all been there, especially at the high school level and college level for sure. So as you guys are probably already telling, right, like the nice thing is about this conversation is all these boys are at different institutions and are having different experiences based on variables that are within their control and without their control. But one thing is clearly evident for all of them. You have to make your time a priority. You have to make your academics a priority. And if you are not choosing to make that time, sadly, you're going to be in a position to not have a choice because at the end of the day, you still have to do it. You're held to the same standard academically as every other student. You're not given hall passes just because you're an athlete. And I know when we move on in this conversation, you're going to be able to hear a couple horror stories from some of these boys that had the chance to live through, right? So as we kind of move forward in the conversation, migrating into the time management and academic piece, we're going to hear from two of our guys again that are going to speak a little bit more about what does it take to like stay on top of those studies and academics while still being a college lacrosse athlete, right? What sort of places are you finding yourself studying most? And sometimes you might not really have the choice to always have that one place that you feel most productive to take advantage of. So They're going to shed a little more light on also that class schedule component. And once again, some of those hard truths, like what happens when you miss some of those classes and maybe some of those most challenging adjustments that you need to make from high school to college. So Troy, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, for sure. So unlike Luke and Nick, I am a finance major in the business administration. So I have probably 30 guys that have either taken the class or are taking it with me right now. So the advantage to that is kind of what Luke said, like if you need help with homework or anything, you can just turn to them. And then if you can't turn to them, you always have your academic advisors, your teachers is always a great option. And then even classmates, like it's always good to be friendly with people. If you miss a school day because you're sick or you're traveling, you can always lean to them to ask for help. And then also I would say like asking help is never a bad thing. I know it could be sometimes embarrassing or you think you could do it yourself, but what I realized quickly is that everyone at your school and on your team is in your corner. Like you want to see everyone like succeed, especially your teammates and everyone around you. So like I said, it's never a bad thing to ask for help. I mean, you can really turn towards anyone in the community around you to help you. They're always in your corner.
Love it. And it takes a village. Everyone's got to find a way to row the boat, and some academic paths are just a little bit easier to do that because you kind of already have that built-in help and support system. Sometimes, like in Luke's case, he's going to talk about a little bit here, you really do have to commit more of your effort and energy to seek out said help since it just isn't as readily available. So appreciate the juice there, Troy.
Yeah. So one thing I'd like to highlight that Billy said is like none of us are special in our school. Like we have to do just the same work. And like if we're gonna call a spade, like some of these kids I'm in these these high level math classes, computer science classes, like they're so smart. And it's like it's tough obviously when you have like obstacles in front of your way, like you have practice every day that takes up your day, takes up your energy, like takes up your mental space, like you're traveling. So one thing I just highlight is like he's so right. And it's not really like there's no excuse really, like you kind of, that's just part of it, is just battling through that. And so yeah, I think like one thing I really I started at Westminster, but also just doing at Vermont is just like attending office hours. It's not embarrassing. Like you're not better or worse than any other student for going to it. And that's something that you don't really have at public school is gonna be like one-on-one time with your teachers during like off days or whatever. But it happens in college, and it's a resource that like has helped me so many times through classes. And also too, like you go to a couple office hours, you develop a relationship with your professor. All of a sudden, like maybe he's a little bit more lenient on like game day trips, like you're getting your homework in one day late, or like he's grading a bit better. So I would say that is like one thing that I really picked up on. But yeah, I think
Wait, so
just
Luke, are you
throughout-
telling me that maybe, hypothetically speaking, right? If I'm a high school student and I feel like I'm able to breeze through my stuff, that, I'm not accustomed to having to seek out extra help or feedback from some of those professors, but if I know that it's something that is going to be probably an aspect of my college career, who knows? Maybe just get used to doing that sooner. Like if you're having struggles within a class, or if you're walking away with a C in chemistry, maybe let's take the time to go chat with the people that are actually working with us in those moments versus just kind of saying it is what it is and moving on.
hypothetically, you could say that.
Hypothetically, right? So I guess another question for you. You mentioned that you potentially had a horror story when it comes to this aspect of managing the extra work and the class schedule, and like you said, being held to the same standard that some of the rest of your peers in those classes are. You want to talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, so my freshman year, we went to the conference championship, played Albany on a Saturday. Ended up losing by one, like biggest like heartbreaker ever. Sucks still to this day. And that whole week we had been in Albany. We left on like a Monday or something. So we were there like Tuesday, Wednesday, played our semifinal, Thursday, off day Friday, championship Saturday. And that next week, so then we came back on Sunday. That next week was finals week. So not only, I mean, this is partly on me, but I like basically wasn't studying that entire week prior to finals because I was trying to win. And I had a Calc 2 final Monday morning at 7:30 a.m. And yeah, basically I bombed it. I had to take Calc 2 again. Luckily it worked out. But and my GPA it's in like a great spot now, but it happens. Like the truth of the story is like this stuff happens, and like I said, you're not special just because you play a sport. And like your professors, especially at Vermont for me, like no professor's gonna like look at a lacrosse player and be like, oh, like you're special, like I'm gonna give you special privilege. Like that's never gonna happen. So it's just something that you're gonna have to live with. I mean, but also too, like when you have a job, like these skills you're learning are gonna be like so crucial. So it's not like I would trade it for anything, but yeah, happens.
Well, I appreciate you being able to have some of these boys learn from some of the mistakes we find ourselves making as well too, and especially knowing like that's a mistake that's not going to define you. It's just something that we're going to be able to learn and grow from, which clearly you have put yourself in a position to do so. Only coming out on top, just Saturday
That's
night,
right.
You really wanted to.
That's right.
That's okay. So we got this year for big time. So Nick, I know that you've had the chance to kind of go through this process a bit longer than some of the boys on the call have as well too. Like, can you tell us a little bit more about what it's like to take finals on the road and managing some of those relationships with those professors, knowing that you're not boots on the ground to do so?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm just going to start this off by saying relationships with your professors are so like critical to your success. I have a really good relationship with our professors. So, for example, like we had to take our last two finals on the road because our conference tournament is like the beginning of April or end of April, beginning of May. And that's our finals week because we have to end school before the Kentucky Derby starts because they don't want us in the dorms. So we get out pretty early. But I had a really good relationship with my professors, so I was able to take my finals on the road and not have to take them early. So having that relationship with my professors, they like me, so they're able to like kind of be lenient with me and like allow me to do that. But I have had multiple teammates who have had to take finals roughly a week early because the professors weren't going to let them take it on the road. And it's really hard because like other people have more of an advantage because they get to study that whole week longer. But if you're have to study a whole week in advance, like you're cramming and like you're not super focused on lacrosse at that point. And when you are traveling, it's like hard to stay focused on school. So you kind of just have to, as a big part of this is manage your time to be able to do both lacrosse and school at the same time.
So Nick, quick question for you, a little off the top of the dome here. Like, what was the hardest class you remember taking during your undergrad years during the spring season?
I actually had to take anatomy 2 on the road, and I just remember studying for that and like I'm gonna do so bad. And that's also a Luke story as well. I had to take that final on the road, and I was like, oh, it's on the road, like maybe he'll make it easier, but no. I also bombed that final as well. So
Yeah,
I mean, it happens to us all. You kind of just have to bounce back, similar to Luke's like situation. Like I've bounced back, and I've had, I think 3 4.0 semesters now. So like I've been able to find a way to manage my time and be able to like succeed while taking those finals on the road.
100%, and the importance of your ability to make that relationship so key, especially when it comes to people that are, not just in hands of what your grade is, but also the ones that are going to make sure you understand what you need to know moving forward. So now we're going to pivot over to Mr. Logan Shavy, who I know, especially coming from a public school setting and transitioning into such a high academic, rigorous school like Swarthmore is like. Tell us a little bit more about what that transition has been for him.
Yeah, so I would say like the transition definitely at first it was very much so uphill battle. As the course of the semester like went through, it definitely got easier, you know, leaning on my teammates and like all the people around me to kind of help me through that. I would say that just like the hardest academic adjustment, like going from, especially, yeah, going from like a Wisconsin public school to like a high academic school like that was just like kind of the realization, which you're going to find anywhere, is that like you're just expected to like do more in your classes and everything. You're expected to do more, you're expected to know more. You know, you show up to class sometimes and you're expected to have read 2-3 chapters out of your textbook and know like an entire concept that your professor didn't actually teach you in class necessarily, and that's the basis for like something that you're doing that day in class. Where like, you know, in high school you learn everything in class as you go. You're not expected to do necessarily a whole lot outside of class. And so with that, I mean, I know it's been said by Luke, Nick, and Troy probably at least like 20 times now, but just like that relationship with your professors is everything. Like Luke was saying earlier, like going to office hours, going to those TA meetings and everything, like it doesn't make you better or worse than anyone else. It really only can help you, because like going to that stuff, not only does it show like you're making an effort and like you're trying to get better, it will like help you and everything. But like something I learned from my teammates and everything, like when I was struggling in some of my classes and stuff, was like the professors, you know, they don't want to like fail you. They don't want to like have kids in their class do bad, because for one, that like reflects on them. But for two, like they just don't want anyone in their classes to do bad. So like you showing up to those office hours, you showing up to those team A meetings and stuff, like putting in that effort and like showing them that like you truly are trying to like learn and you truly are trying to like better yourself. Like Luke said, that could make them like grade a little bit more lenient, or like, you know, help you a little bit more with like deadlines and stuff like that. Where definitely that was kind of the biggest adjustment, was just kind of like learning those kind of workarounds and like loopholes to kind of like help set you up to be in a better position.
1,000%, 1,000%. I think as we continue down this path in this conversation, I think the point is kind of being made relatively clear, right? This is a grind. Like this is something that challenges you, not just from all the things that you need to do from an on-field perspective, but all of the challenges that you're going to run into and handle and manage from an off-field standpoint as well. So as we could tell, this is great. These are goals. These are awesome. And we are so excited to take advantage of that and just have that passion piece of lacrosse continue into our collegiate careers. But, you know, it's work and it's not easy, and it's going to challenge you at many moments throughout the course of your college career on and off the field. So what we're going to pivot to next is kind of talking a little bit more about that grind and like kind of getting more into the weeds of how do we handle that? Like, how do we manage some of the day-to-day aspects that really do make things more challenging, whether it's a lacrosse specific relationship or a academic relationship, right? Like these are all things that still stem from the person. There's physical fatigue, and there's mental fatigue. So what we're going to do is we're going to start chatting a little bit more about that and kind of getting into how we as players, right, as current players, help manage that stress and strain. How do we manage the physical and mental fatigue? How do we hold ourselves accountable, and what other variables do we have access to that really help make sure we're meeting those standards that we need to meet? So Marcus, you want to hop in on that topic for us to get it started?
Yeah. So obviously the senior year summer, I was so pumped and everything to get started, and then getting in, you get 2 weeks, at least for my team. We got 2 weeks, just no school, anything. It's just a bunch of the guys hanging out. So as freshmen, we were all like super eager to kind of get out there, get on the field, kind of prove ourselves. So we would always go out, do 1v1, shoot around. And actually a Bayport alumni, Elijah Gash, was in the area at the time. So we're 2 weeks in. I think practice starts that next week, workouts start the next day. And so he came out doing ones with a bunch of us, and I went up against him maybe 5 times. And the last one, I tore my knee and kind of just ruined it right from the start. And So obviously, like going from a place up here, you're super high, you're like, you were really good in high school, and then now you're kind of down here. You're like not playing at all, not with the team doing anything the team's doing. So you got to kind of find a positive mindset, and it's really hard at that point. Even if you're not hurt and you're not playing, it's like the mental game is probably the most, and I'm sure the other guys can say this as well. It's probably the biggest thing that someone can work on. And I don't know if you guys have watched it, but the Spin and Chicklets podcast had Tom Brady on it the other day, and he talks about it a bunch as well. But it's a huge thing. Just seeing, like, knowing that you can be in a spot, like having people telling you that you can be there, and then not having it happen, it really takes a toll on you. And yeah, I mean, it can, like I said, it can be really easy to get really negative, and you can talk to your parents all you want, you can complain, everything like that. And I'll admit, I talked to Billy about it a bunch. I was like, dude, like, this sucks. Like, I want to leave, kind of thing, you know?
And especially with how much passion and energy that, all of you guys really do bring to the table, having the one thing that you feel most connected to be taken away from you in that way, like, there truly are no words. But regardless of there not being any words within that moment, everyone's forced to answer, right? You were forced to step up, and you're forced to kind of find a way to handle and manage that aspect in order for you to do everything you can to come back bigger and better, right? So, Marcus, quick question for you. What did you feel like was the most impactful thing throughout the course of your freshman year that really kind of kept you focused and energized and, like, putting up your blinders on the things that you need to prioritize just to do everything you can to get back on the field?
Just the kind of like mindset that you're there for a reason, if that makes sense. Like, it's real easy to say, like, oh, I'm not playing. Like, I don't know why I'm even here. Like, we had a kid, he came in, he was a freshman this year. He already transferred out. Just kind of wasn't playing, didn't get any opportunities. Like, screw it, I'm gone. So just finding that mindset, and then realizing, you take a step back and you're like, all these guys were the same as what I was in high school. Like, you're going from, if you're coming from Wisconsin, you're going to be one of the best on your team, most likely. So you're going from that to being on a team full of guys that are also the best on their team from each state. So it's like, yeah, you just kind of take a step back and realize the bigger, I don't know how to say it, but the bigger view, I guess.
Right? Like, you're able to rely on the things that you were there for in the first place, right? And that sense of direction is what's going to kind of make sure that you're staying on the course ahead, and executing the plan that you put in place for yourself too. And now look at you. You went from not having the opportunity to play your freshman year and having the big bad bruiser in the NLL, Isaac Ash, be a part of that, to then doing all the things you needed to do, rehabbing up, practicing for the times you could in the spring, to then turn around and be your conference rookie of the year, right? Like, clearly there's a plan and there's a place for you to take advantage of that. While you might not know what's to come down the road, there's reasons to hold on to the fact that things happen for a reason. And it's something that you're, like I said, not going to necessarily understand until you get there and experience it. But hindsight will always be 2020. So stay positive, stay focused. And I think Nick's going to tell us a little more about that mental fatigue piece as well too, with some stuff that he's had the chance to go through as a player.
Yeah, definitely. So kind of like Marcus was saying, I mean, coming out of high school, I obviously started 3 sports at Marquette. I didn't have a single issue with starting on those teams. Obviously I was a really good player at Marquette, like lacrosse wise. So coming into college, you're like, all right, like, I'm still going to be the man on my team. Like, I'm a good player, this and that. And obviously I knew I was at a little bit of a disadvantage coming from Wisconsin lacrosse compared to, like, obviously East Coast lacrosse, but I didn't realize how big of a disadvantage I was at. But I came in, I worked hard, had a good fall, and then my first spring came around, and I was in kind of like the rotation at the LSM as a true freshman. And then about like 4 or 5 games in, I like went out for a shift and I let a guy score, and that was the last time I ever saw the field. So I mean, you go from like being the star in high school and then coming here and then one mistake and you never see the field again. It's like it's a harsh reality, but that like took a super bad toll on my mental like health and kind of like my confidence. So I kind of just blew off the rest of the spring, which if I'd go back, I probably would redo. But obviously I can't do that anymore. So the summer going into my sophomore year, I just decided to really work on my confidence and kind of just only worry about me, not like what the coaches have to say, what the other people have to say. We have end of the year meetings, obviously at the end of the year. So then I took what my coaches said to heart and I kind of just worked hard. And then I came back my sophomore year and I've been a 3-year starter ever since. So it kind of just shows that like just because you do get benched, it doesn't mean that it's the end of your road. And I think a big part of that is I didn't necessarily know what my role was as a freshman. I thought I was gonna like in high school, I was like whatever, scored a lot, did a lot of like transition work and whatnot. But you get to college and the whole transition level isn't as easy as it was in high school. So I think I found my role and kind of they used me as like a basically a ride. Like my role is just being a huge major contributor in the ride. So I kind of took that to heart, focused on it, kind of studied it, and now I found my role. And I'm not a star player anymore by any means. Like know my role. I do start, but I'm not obviously the star defenseman. I'm not the star player at all. So I think it's just really important on finding a role. And sometimes it's a bit humbling, but I think it worked out well for me at the end of the day.
Really appreciate you sharing a bit of insight on that, Nick, because I think as we kind of transition into some of our next phases and final phases of our conversation here, as we've all touched on, you guys within the great state of Wisconsin are going to find yourself being like the dude on the vast majority of those teams that you're on. And sometimes, most of the times, you guys are playing multiple roles at once. As we transition into the college game, college coaches are looking at you clearly as a person still, but more so as a golf club within your bag. And their job is to make sure that they're covering every single club within that bag so they're prepared for any shot they need to take. And you as a college athlete, you want to find a way to get on the field, you find a way to fill a role. And the minute you could find a way to fill that role and make it obvious to your coaching staff that that's what you're here to do, you're going to be undeniable in your opportunities and ways that you could find a way to get on that field. So, Nick, thank you again so much for that. And I think that's a great transition into this, one of our final topics here is just some open advice to some of the Wisconsin players and families that we've got on this call and the ones that are going to be able to come back and watch the replay. If you were able to go back and have a heart-to-heart conversation with yourself or, your family when it came to habits and some things that maybe we know now that we didn't necessarily know then. So what are some of those habits that you would recommend players start to build up now that are in complete control of? And then maybe some of those biggest time management mistakes that we made early on in this process and how we can set ourselves up for more success moving forward for that future opportunity. So I think, Troy, we're going to let you kick this one off, brother.
I would say time management really goes hand in hand, both on the field and in school. I don't know if you guys know the quote from Rocky. I think it was, yeah. There is no tomorrow. Like, just because you feel tired or sluggish today, you can never get time back. You always got to put work in. You have to realize that everyone else around the country that is fighting to win games just like you is doing the same thing. So that leads me to a bad story, kind of like what Luke and Nick had. We scrimmaged Jacksonville in the fall, and I think we left Friday morning and then came back Sunday, but I had 2 math assignments due on Friday, and I actually forgot my computer at my dorm. So I couldn't do those assignments in the hotel, which is what I was planning to do with my teammates. But like everyone else has been saying, my teacher was super lenient with me because I had a great relationship with her. So I completed the assignments late. She didn't mark any points off, so it was great.
Yeah, but sometimes even the most like simple of mistakes could come along with some, bigger consequences you need to answer for. And just because we have an opportunity to fly down to Jacksonville for our very first college scrimmage as a freshman doesn't really, mean that you're able to pass on some of those opportunities as well too. So thank you for that, Troy. I could only imagine how stressed you felt probably when you got to the airport and recognized you did not have your laptop, probably when you tried to pull it out on the plane. Shavi, how about you, brother?
I have a couple things from like the habit standpoint. The biggest thing that I wish I would have kind of like made a top priority when I was in high school was just like sleep, getting like good 8 hours of sleep, like all the sleep you need, the rest you need to let your body actually recover from everything you're doing, along with nutrition. Because as you'll find, like, especially once you get to college, like sometimes the way that practices line up with like your class schedule and everything, you don't maybe have the time to like stop at the dining hall and grab something. And like, or you don't have the time to just like, even eat a snack really like in class while you're walking to the dining hall, or not to the dining hall, to practice, because you're kind of running down there to make it on time. That was a huge thing that was kind of a learning curve of like kind of figuring out like, all right, calories in, calories out, like you're burning a lot of calories. You need to like take in as much as possible. And then also like along with it, like you need your rest. Like not only will it affect you on the field, but it also like affect you like in the classroom and everything. Like getting good sleep will kind of just make everything fall into place a little bit easier and kind of just make like your days easier once you're in college and it turns into a grind. And then I think like the biggest time management thing that I kind of had to get used to was just like in general, like in high school, as I'm sure like a lot of kids on this call probably are, I procrastinated a lot. Like, I would wait till the last minute to do a lot of my work. Like high school is kind of a little bit easier, like going to public school, and like you don't really have to put in too much work for certain classes or certain teachers, like that whole thing. Whereas like getting here, like you kind of learn really quick. You have to like take advantage of all the time that you have. Like you don't get necessarily a whole lot of it. And like, certain stuff, like you have trips like for scrimmages, or you have trips for games, like that whole thing. Or just, like, hey, I'm going to have like a long practice tonight and like team dinner or something like that, where it's like, you got to stay on top of your stuff. And it definitely, life comes at you a little bit quicker than when you're in high school.
1,000%. 1,000%. So I think probably the best way that we could close out this conversation is just kind of giving you guys the floor for one last chance, seeing if we got any other questions that might make their way here into the chat. But if there was summed up in a sentence or two, right? Like one piece of advice with what you guys know now, like you're talking to your former selves, those guys that are literally on this call today. What do you think is that one big piece of advice that you would want yourself to walk away from this combo moving forward into, my freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, potentially senior year of high school?
Yeah, I can start this one off. My biggest advice would be just don't wait, because I know whether it's lacrosse or school, once you get to college, professors or your coaches don't stop. Like there's only one train and it keeps moving forward. So you don't understand something in the classroom, go to your teacher's office hours, go ask your questions sooner rather than later, because they're not going to stop. If you're not asking questions, whether it's in class or on the field, like the coaches are going to assume you understand it. So my biggest advice would just be don't procrastinate asking questions. It's not everyone understands everything the first time. So go ask your teachers, go ask your coaches questions about anything.
Love that. Seek out help. Don't be afraid to ask. Everyone does it.
Yeah, I'll take it next. I would just say master the mental game. I mean, there's definitely been countless number of practices or maybe even games where even last year I was like, for instance, Lemoyne, the semifinal game, got shut down all game, had nothing. And at the end of that game, I was just in a bad place mentally. And it kind of took me the rest of that night and even into the next morning to kind of reset myself for the championship final. But yeah, that's kind of what I would go back and tell myself is just like, what do you do after you make a bad play or you miss a pass or miss a shot? Do you throw your hands up and slam your stick, or you kind of keep your head down and you go right back and try it again until you get it?
Love that. Love that. Everyone's only got one brain, and you're the one that's in control of it. So do everything you can to water it. Don't drain it, right?
All right, I'll go.
Luke, you got one thing?
I'll go next. I'll also just highlight what Marcus said. I think that's really, really powerful. And like he said it earlier, but the mental game is more important than physical. Like I completely agree. And it's also harder too. Like people don't realize how hard it is really. Like it's not easy getting benched or like losing a bad game. So, but my one advice is like, I really wasn't like that's like super smart growing up. Like I was an average student at Wanakee, like public high school. Honestly, I would have never imagined that I'd be studying like statistics and political science and like taking the classes I'm taking. I work a job too. So my advice is like all you guys have it in you, like stop scrolling. Like you literally all can like do this. Like I know it's like we're all talking here like we know better than all of you guys. Like honestly, I was just the same as you guys. Like you guys all have it in you to like go do this. And like if as long as you like just commit to yourself and put like I know people say just like put the time in and like but really like if you really just commit yourself, like you guys can literally all do what we're doing. Like we are not special. You guys can all be better than us. Like one day all of you guys will be like going to much better schools than Vermont or Marquette or wherever. So just just keep going.
Chef's kiss, brother. Chef's kiss. I love that. And everyone here is more than capable of things that they've never imagined before. You're just one step away from that direction and committing to that process. So couldn't agree more with you, dude.
I would kind of just say like my one piece of advice would just be just be proactive in everything you do. Like you can't wait for stuff to be handed to you because like especially once you get to college, it's not going to be handed to you. Like you're gonna have to work for everything. So just kind of like be proactive in those situations and learn to like put in the work now. So then not only will it pay off later, but like you'll see like everything becomes a little bit easier when you already have those habits down and already kind of know like, all right, this is what I'm going to do. This is the obstacle that popped up. Like, I know that I'm going to be able to handle it, like that whole thing. So just be proactive in everything that you do.
Couldn't say it better. I mean, the more time we spend being reactive, the less time we're in complete control of the path and direction that we know we want to be on. So grab it with both hands, stay focused. Troy, anything else to close out the convo?
Yeah, I'll make mine pretty short and sweet. I would just say like you obviously want to do the best you can on the field, but at the end of the day, sports and lacrosse don't last forever. So I think that the relationships and friends that you make along the way are just as important of your on-field success. You're gonna remember those guys forever at the end of the day, and like the memories you make are incredible. I've already made like so many memories that I won't forget in just a semester. So yeah.
Let's go make a memory. Let's go. Let's go write that book. Everyone's here got their own. So I absolutely love this. Let's see here. What's up, Scott?
I got one more thing to
Marcus, hit it.
It's another thing. I don't know about you guys, but I'm kind of getting to the point where my body's starting to not be as lenient as it was before. So I'm getting to the point where I'm stretching before practice. I'm stretching after practice. I'm getting that getting out of a tough workout. Like, dang, my ankles both hurt. My hips both hurt. My back is jacked up. Shoulders are sore. Like you gotta take care of that early because I would assume it pays off. I was never really good at that throughout all high school. I was like, yeah, I just don't stretch going into games kind of without stretching any. But yeah, I'd say it pays off a lot. Just treating your body good, being proactive, like they said. But yeah,
Love it, Marcus. I mean, just like you talked about, right? Everyone's got one brain. You only have one body as well, too. So the better we take care of it, better we're setting ourselves up for success. So, everyone, thank you for attending the call, and of course to our 5 college athletes that took out the time this evening to meet with us right at the start and the heat of their kickoff of their spring season. Thank you, guys. You are offering knowledge and foresight for those that some of you already know that are on this call, some of you do not, but I know that these impacts are going to carry for a very, very long time and will go a long way. So I hope that the players that had the chance to make their way on the call or walk away with something that they're really pumped about, maybe a little kick in the you-know-what for them to start waking up a little bit in some other categories and capacities. But at the end of the day, it's all love. We're all here to support each other. We know it takes a village, and I think everyone's just excited to hop in this boat and row it together. So thank you guys again for your time. If there wasn't any other immediate questions.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Luke.
I'm trying to put my number in the chat, just because I know it's tough with this many people to ask a question, but feel free to reach out. I'm sure these other guys too.
So what I'm going to do
Like-
is, Luke, for the fluid specific families, right? Because we're taking this video and we're going to upload it to our YouTube page. But for the fluid specific families, we're actually going to send a note out, and I'm just going to have your guys' email address. So if anyone really
Okay.
wants to reach out with some time and some more specific questions to you individually, we'll give them that opportunity to do so.
Yeah, sounds good.
I think that's an even better idea. Great stuff. So that being said, college boys, just stick out for 1 minute. Everybody else, thank you so much for coming to the call. First series. We got 5 more on the docket throughout the rest of the spring. So we'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks again for your time tonight. Have a good evening.
Thank you, everyone.
You're so welcome, Finley. Goodbye.